By Monday night, kids had fallen asleep in their rooms across the hallway. Lynn and Matt had their pillows pressed up against one another as they sat side by side in bed. He was engrossed in a Civil War novel, and she had a marketing report to revise. Matt let out a soft sigh, shut the book, and turned to face his spouse. He always liked the way the tip of her tongue poked out slightly from under her lips when she was concentrating. Pen hovered over the paper, and she absent-mindedly brushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear. "Linny?" She answered without looking up. Matt waited, and after a moment she turned to look at him. "Do you love him?" Lynn froze and turned slightly pale. She looked at him silently. She just couldn't bring herself to play this game, to ask who or try to lie. Matt deserved better. "No," she said. "So it's just about sex?" "Matt," she began, trying to meet his gaze. Then she looked down at the papers on her lap. "Yes, I think it's all about sex, flirting, and then sex." "I see," he said. Silence. "I think I'd like you to sleep in the guest room," he said, his voice remaining calm and quiet. She nodded and stood up from the bed, slipping her feet into her slippers. She reached for the robe on the chair. "Unless, of course, you had sex with him in this bed. If you did this, then I will never sleep in it again." "No," she said, "I didn't do that." She wanted to say, "How could you think that I could do such a thing?" But that would be funny given the circumstances. Without another word, Matt turned off the light on the nightstand and lowered his head onto the pillow, turning his back to her. Lynn looked at him for a minute, her face tense with pain. Then she quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. Friday evening, when Matt returned home, the house was full of delicious smells. He hung up his coat, and Lynn came out of the kitchen to greet him with a smile, although she didn't dare come close. She was wearing one of her beautiful aprons that she wore when guests arrived. "Beth and Jason are having dinner at the Frankels. I decided to cook us something delicious today," she said, trying to keep a smile on her face. Matt looked into the dining room. The table was covered with a tablecloth, with their good china, and 2 of their best wine glasses. There were candles and cloth napkins and silver rings. Matt nodded. "Smells good. I'll go wash my hands and come down in a few minutes." When he returned, Lynn was just bringing food from the kitchen. She served each of them a portion of fried chicken, along with potatoes and green beans. On one side, there was a salad with orange slices in a beautiful bowl. They sat down, and Lynn smiled brightly at her husband, although the tension was visible on her face. "Looks really nice," Matt said. Then he slowly stood up and climbed onto his chair so that he towered over the table. Lynn looked at him in confusion and then horror. He unbuttoned his pants and slowly, carefully urinated all over the table. Covered the plate, the side dish, and the chicken with sauce, the glasses of wine just filled, and the salad bowl. Their plates were saturated, and the tablecloth was discolored by his pee. "What, Matt?" Lynn let out a nearly uncontrollable cry. Her eyes widened in terror and shock. Matt leaped out of his chair and zipped up, gave Lynn a serious glance. "I thought you might want to know what it's like to have someone pee on something you care about, something you've put a lot of time, love, and effort into. I thought this might be a learning experience." Lynn didn't answer, just looked at her husband, tears streaming down her cheeks. Matt went to the closet, took out his coat, and left the house. Sunday afternoon, "I asked for a transfer," she said. "About in a week, I will be transferred to the internal marketing department. I wanted this to happen as soon as possible. I'll be in a building on Union Street, away from where I am now." "And why did you ask for a transfer? I thought you liked the international department." "'Cause I won't be there next to Douglas. I won't be in the same office again." He stopped raking leaves and turned to look at her, standing next to him in her colorful fall sweater. "And why should this matter to me?" She looked both annoyed and offended. "'Cause I won't date him. That's all I wanted you to know this." She turned back to the rake. "Lynn, you already told me it's over. Of course I take your word for it and trust you completely. Can you think of one reason why not?" She stamped her foot lightly and said, "Damn it, Matt, Do you really think your sarcasm will help? You really think that moving from this office will make everything better? Like there are no motels, lunch hours, and breakfast meetings, or meetings with clients outside the office? As if there aren't plenty of other men out there who would love to you until you lose your memory. Matt's voice rose to an angry tone, but he continued to rake the leaves into neat piles without looking at it. Matt, she said in a thin, sad voice, what else can I do? I'm trying to do everything I can, every way I know, she started crying, to show you how sorry I am, to somehow make amends to you. He turned to her again. And you think there is some way to make amends? Some kind of magic formula, just the right words, actions, or gestures, and it will all end? Get it, Lynn, you're living in a dream world. He turned away again, returning to his rake. Monday evening. Lynn heard footsteps along the corridor, and then Beth's head appeared in the doorway, sleepy and confused. Mommy, is that why you slept in the guest room? Although she was almost 6 years old, she still spoke with a slight lisp, especially when she got tired. I stayed late at work, honey, and I'm here so as not to disturb Dad. Did you have a bad dream? Beth nodded solemnly, and Lynn jumped off the bed to hug her. Lie with me, Betty, you and Big Bear. She put her daughter and the bear cub with her under the blanket and lay down next to her. 5 minutes later, Beth was fast asleep again, and Lynn carefully picked her and the bear up in her arms and carried them to Beth's room. On the way to the guest bedroom, she suddenly changed her mind and headed to the master bedroom. The door was a few centimeters open and the room was dark. Lynn paused, trying to find the right words, but was stopped by an unexpected sound. It was crying. Matt was crying quietly, probably into his pillow. Lynn stood there listening, then slowly turned away and walked back down the hallway to the guest bedroom. Wednesday morning. Every day, it became easier and easier to be in the office and work, to concentrate on what needed to be done. His thoughts still wandered into painful distances, but not so often, and not for so long. It was obvious to his secretary, Bernice, that something was wrong, but she guessed that he did not want to talk about it, and did not ask anymore. Just smiled at him sympathetically. At 10:50, he got up from his chair, walked to his door, and closed it. Then he took the dictionary from the bookshelf and placed it on the table. He found the word he was looking for and read the definition out loud. A cuckold is a man with an unfaithful wife. He sat back down. I am a cuckold, he said. This several times. The word seemed strange coming from his mouth. I am a cuckold. I was cuckolded. She cuckolded me. He sat for some time without looking at anything. Then, with a sigh, put the dictionary aside and returned to work. For God's sake, Lynn. What the hell did you expect? Lynn didn't say anything, but her friend Arlene continued. They were sitting in Arlene's kitchen, 2 cups of coffee between them. You're having sex behind Matt's back with some other guy. Arlene saw Lynn wince at this word but continued. And now you're surprised that he's angry and offended? I'm not surprised, Arlene. Does he know how long this lasted? Lynn shook her head. I have no idea. I don't even know how he found out or when. He doesn't want to. We didn't talk about it. Do you think if you told him it only happened a few times, it would have made a difference? For me? No, Lynn grimaced. I mean, if it were the other way around, if only he had slept with some other woman 5 times, 20, I would still be torn to pieces. So don't think I'm surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I just don't know what to do. I can't reach him, and I don't know what the hell to do. She lowered her eyes, stirring her coffee with a spoon, and Arlene watched her silently. 3 weeks later, Wednesday afternoon. No, Matt said firmly and then a little quieter. No, I don't want her to tell me about it. The therapist frowned slightly. She had short, dark hair, almost a beetle cut, and wore a simple but tasteful pearl blouse with a gray skirt. And why? She asked. Why? Matt chuckled. Maybe because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to. Damn, maybe because I'm afraid if I know more, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. And how do you think you will handle it if you don't want to know? Matt shrugged. I don't know. I don't know if it's even possible to live with it at all. it's possible to, to pretend it's not there. The therapist nodded and made a note. But I just can't talk to her about it. It's too painful. Tell me, Matt, what do you feel about Lynn? He sighed. Everything. I feel everything. I feel rage, disgust, and contempt. I feel like she's some kind of, like this guy has reduced her to the level of a whore. Do you love her? The therapist asked. Yes, I do. I hate her and I love her at the same time. Turn to her. Can that even be possible? Love is never that simple. Matt smiled sadly. Tell me about it. But I know that if I let her go, if I tell her to leave, then that will be the end of me, and I will not survive. Why do you think that? He hesitated and then said, because she is the best thing that ever happened to me. She's my wife, the mother of our children. If she's gone, I'll lose my life. Therapist gave him a sad smile. Friday evening. Was their first date in 3 weeks. Dinner and a movie. New thriller that everyone was talking about. They both enjoyed it and, on the way home, discussed the merits of the plot, the characters, and the acting. Lynn smiled as Matt opened the door for her. In the living room, Matt was taking off his coat when he suddenly said, "Let's go to bed." She looked at him uncertainly. The tone of his voice wasn't exactly a suggestion, but rather a command. "Let's go to bed, Lynn," he said softly, emphasizing each word. She stood in silence and finally said, "Okay," then climbed the stairs behind him. When they reached their room, Matt began to undress, unbuttoning his shirt, pulling it off his shoulders, and taking off his shoes. Lynn removed her jewelry and began to undo the zipper on her dress when she heard the sound of leather sliding through loops. She turned and froze. "Matt?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. He continued to pull his belt out of his pants. "Matt, what are you doing?" He met her gaze and said, "I'm taking off my belt." "What are you going to do with that?" she asked. Her voice was shaking more than ever. "Let's see what happens, shall we?" He slowly walked towards her. "Matt, what are you going to do?" she asked again. She took a step back, but there was a closet behind her, and she could retreat no further. Matt stopped in front of her, inches away. He took her chin in one hand, lifting it to meet his gaze. "Lynn, what did he do to you that I didn't?" he asked softly. "Did he spank you?" Lynn looked at him in horror. "Did you like it?" continued. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. Matt bent his face closer to hers. "Lynn, did you enjoy being spanked?" She finally shook her head slightly, then more decisively. "No," she whispered. "No," Matt repeated. He didn't let go of her chin, but held it tighter. "And then he used his tongue on you, Lynn. Did you like that? Was that what I wasn't giving you? Did you like being spanked and then licked?" His voice grew harder. "No," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Lynn, did he put it in your mouth? Is that what you liked, Lynn? Did you enjoy sucking his cock?" She tried to pull her head away, but he held her tightly. "Did you?" he demanded. Lynn sobbed. "No, Matt, no, I didn't like it." Matt held her in place for a moment, then released her chin and threw the belt to the floor. "Okay," he said, his voice full of disgust. He turned around and walked to the bed. Turned around and met her tearful gaze. "You're just a whore, Lynn. You're nothing but a goddamn whore." He sat on the bed, his head in his hands. Lynn stood in the same place, trembling and sobbing. Then she slowly walked to the bed, knelt at his feet, and hugged him around the waist. "I'm sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. I wish I could undo it, but I can't. Please forgive me, please," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Matt didn't answer. He just sat there staring at the floor, while Lynn clung to him, begging for forgiveness. Eventually she got up, wiped her tears away, and sat next to him on the bed. They sat in silence for a long time until Matt finally spoke. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Lynn," he said quietly. "But I do know that I love you, despite everything." Lynn's heart ached at his words, but she nodded in understanding. "I love you too, Matt," she replied softly, "and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right between us." Matt looked at her, his expression a mixture of pain and determination. "We'll see, Lynn," he said. "We'll see."